Welcome to Fox Valley in Focus. I'm your host, Barb Nadeau. Today's show, we have three unique individuals with very interesting challenges for all of us. We've got Rania Zaytar, she's a local author, Jean Valentine, a local librarian, and Ellen Van Olen with a local Chamber of Commerce. Stay with us. It's going to be very interesting. We'll get started right after this.
Their support changed my life.
They were like family.
My voice is now heard.
A home for every animal.
My future is bright because they cared.
This is our home now.
Thank you to the 1,200 nonprofits that serve Cass and Clay counties every day.
Our first guest today is Rania Zaytar. Rania is a local author. She wrote America Through My Eyes, The Experiences of an Egyptian-American Muslim Woman. Rania, thank you for being here on our show.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
I met you when you were speaking at a local event, and I was just captivated with your story, and it's so nice to have you here to talk about your book. What got you started in writing?
I actually started to write when I was around 10 years old, and I was in Egypt, and I wrote for sure in Arabic. Arabic is my first language. And I really enjoyed writing all my life. But I never thought that somebody else would read my writing, just me and my friends and my family. And then when I came to the United States, it was in 2000. I had really, really low and poor English. I wasn't able to communicate with people or to understand anything, the TV or the neighbors or make friends or anything. So it was really hard for me in the beginning. And then was trying and taking some English classes and going out. I was able to improve my English, and it was a lot of help from so many people. And then I started look for a job, and when I started to work, I work in Plano area, special education cooperative right now as a paraprofessional. When I started to work 8 years ago, I started to hear a lot of questions about my religion and about my culture, especially like in my city, I'm almost the only Muslim, like the only one who was wearing hijab and covered. So so many people asked me so many questions, and I thought, the best way to answer these questions will be writing, since it's my favorite thing to do. So I started to write in English almost like 5 or 6 years ago.
In a short amount of time, you've accomplished something that a lot of people just dream of, writing their own book. And now you're looking at writing a second book. Yes. So you've been very successful. And what's the reaction been to your writing?
You know, I never ever thought that I will publish a book in my second language before I publish a book in my first language. But actually that happened before of the help of the writers group in Plano Library, which I really appreciated. I joined this group around less than 2 years ago, and literally, my life changed after I joined the group. Like I always say, this was one of the best decisions I have ever made in my life. Wonderful group of people, great support I had, a lot of help, because for sure I write my feeling, I write my thoughts, but I always get a lot of like grammatical problems in grammar or in punctuations. And so that their help, and actually the idea of the book was from them. Like they told me, Rania, these articles need to be in a book. People need to read these things. People need to know more about your culture and your religion, since they always hear a lot of negative things in the media and the news about Muslims or Islam or Middle East in general. So so that gave me a huge support to take the decision and publish the book.
So going from someone who is very lonely to having a lot of friends, the writers group really made a difference.
A big difference, a huge difference.
I'm really glad that we have Jean Valentine, who's going to come on after you to tell us more about the specifics of the writers group, but I don't want to waste time on that. I want to hear more about your story. When you were a child, what types of things did you write?
You know, I was like writing about the natural, about feelings, about the future. You know, what was funny, I just remember that I always wrote, after I write anything in my book or my notebook, I would just write, with my best regard, Rania Zaitar. And I was like 10 years old. So I enjoyed doing that. I enjoyed writing, and I still enjoy writing, and I still feel like I more express myself better in writing than talking or speaking.
And what are we going to find inside the book?
So the book actually is 20 different chapters, and I tried my best to cover every subject any non-Muslim American would think of. So I tried to cover all the answers to any question would come to the people's mind if they never met a Muslim before, or if they never had the chance to hear about this religion or this culture except from the media. So I talked about why I'm wearing my head cover or my hijab. I talked about the differences between the American culture and the Egyptian culture, which big, huge difference. I talked about my experience in the United States. I didn't have like bad experiences or like bad discriminations or something, but there's little situations that affected me negatively or positively. So I tried to express those feelings to the reader. I also talked about like women's rights in Islam, because this is a question that people would always ask me. So explained, there's a full chapter about women's rights. I called it My Rights in Islam. And, you know, I had in the book my very first fiction story, which was like, I was so worried to write fiction in English. But I did, and I think it was okay. I covered also like talking about violence and terrorism and all these subjects that people always ask me about. So as much as I can, as much as I could, I tried to cover everything.
It's amazing. I want to just pour through and learn every bit of it. But you have a second book now that's in your head, but you told me, last time I talked to you, it was in your head. Now today you tell me it's almost 70% written.
Yes, you know, when I talked to you last time, it was, I had some of it written, but I've been working since then. You know, the other book, so what actually I'm trying to do is, so as I'm trying in my English book to express myself as Egyptian and Muslim.
To Americans.
To Americans who are non-Muslims. I try to do the same thing as Egyptian, as American to my Egyptian or Middle East or Arabic fellows. So I'm writing an Arabic book to express my positive experience in the United States, which a lot of people don't really hear about in the Middle East. They also always hear like negative political wars, you know, always like not good things about the United States. So I'm trying to express, I had amazing experiences here. A lot of good people, a lot of supportive people who literally changed my life, made me achieve dreams I thought in one point in my life it's impossible to happen. So I'm trying to write those stories so I can kind of build bridges.
Build bridges and be a peacekeeper in the world. This is amazing. Where can we find these books?
So my book, America Through My Eyes, you can find it through Amazon or through CreateSpace. It's self-publishing through CreateSpace, so we can buy it from CreateSpace or from Amazon. I have in Facebook there is a page for the book in Facebook if somebody needs to follow. And I try always say, like, if anyone had the chance to read the book, I would really appreciate it if they write a review on Amazon, because it helps to spread the word.
Fantastic. America Through My Eyes, Experiences of an Egyptian-American Muslim Woman. Rania Zaitar, our guest, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I can't wait to read both these books. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
Their support changed my life.
They were like family.
My voice is now heard.
A home for every animal.
My future is bright because they cared.
This is our home now.
Thank you to the 1,200 nonprofits that serve Cass and Clay counties every day.
Jean is the Adult Services Manager for the Plano Community Library. Jean, thanks for coming today.
Thanks for having me.
That was amazing, wasn't it? Rania
Yes.
is really just a phenomenal person who's got so much drive and ability to create.
Yes. She's been a wonderful addition to our writers group. We're a close group that gets along well and supports each other, and we all love having Rania as part of the group.
Well, you know, a lot of people think, you know, the most mild-mannered person they know is going to be their local librarian, and they don't realize the services that you offer. But just listening to her story, just the story of the support that you give to the people in the community is worth noting. It
Yes.
really is.
This is the 10th anniversary this year of our writers group, and it is great for writers of a lot of different types, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, poetry. We have
And you have quite a collection of local authors, which I was surprised. And you brought some of the books with you.
I did.
Tell me a little bit about the
Yeah.
local authors. That
We just
have.
started our local authors collection this year, and it's not just Plano authors. It includes Yorkville, Newark, Sandwich, and even Aurora. In our local authors collection, we have a little pamphlet with a short bio about each of the authors that are in the collection, and I brought today a few of the books from the collection.
Well, you know, and I said, you know, I've always wanted to go and join that group, and then I'm like, oh, no time. But I really do envy someone who can actually see their work through to a publication, you know, to actually have a book written and to see that come into print. And it's interesting to look at this pamphlet and all of the local folks that I've run into or I've known throughout
Yes.
the years, and that
Yes.
they're actually accomplishing this. So if I were to walk into Plano Library, Plano Community Library, would I be able to find like a stack of local authors?
Right, the local authors collection actually has what we call prime real estate. It's right in the front of the adult section, so as soon as you enter, you see it, which is great. So they're all together, and it's a combination of children's books, adult books, both fiction and nonfiction.
Now, are you part of the group yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I am. The book that I have in the collection, I actually wrote with Ann Sears and Christy Gravlin, who are both Plano historians, and it's a photo history book through Arcadia Publishing's series of local places.
That's kind of interesting because that series of books, I know what you're talking about, and they're actually really nice little, you know, coffee table books, or, you know, just something to have as part of the collection. You really get to know the community and find out more about what's happening,
Right. You
or
think
what has
it's-
happened.
You think it's just a collection of photographs, but the research involved to write captions that actually are interesting and informative is more work than you'd expect for a photo book.
And you get to know the history of the area,
Yes.
as well as you probably see great-grandparents of people who are coming into the
Yes.
library to use the services.
Yes, that's true.
So the library is being asked to do more and more than we ever expected or we ever had used it for in the past. When we were children, you know, it was just go in, get our favorite books, come out, maybe work on a research paper. What do people do in the library now?
Well, one of the biggest differences in the last 20 years has been public use computers, and that's especially important in communities where you have a lot of people maybe lower income or don't have access to a computer at home. And so being able to use a computer for free, to print, to create things, to access their email is very helpful. Work on resumes. So that's a big thing. And the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is the information we provide, the reference services. People can come in and ask us most anything, and we'll try to get an answer for them.
That's the thing that I think is the most fun, because I've come in and I've stood there in front of you and said, Jean, help me with this. And you think you can just go into a computer and search on your own, and you're losing out. There's so much opportunity in your local library when you actually have a chance to sit and talk to your librarian and say, okay, this is what I'm looking for. And I remember days when I would come in and have a stack of books that, oh, this might be helpful, Barb, this might be helpful. It's really wonderful to have you there.
Well, the saying is that the internet will give you, 1,000 answers, but the library will give you the right answer.
So the library is right there in the center of town. It's a historic building.
Yes.
It's a beautiful building. Tell me more about some of the special events coming up, and tell me especially about the writers group. When does it meet, and how do we join some of these things?
The writers group meets on the second and fourth Thursdays of each month, except for December and November and December, at 6:30. And you don't have to sign up, you just show up, and it's a very welcoming group. Its main focus is critiquing. We help each other with our writing. So people from the group bring things and we talk about them and help polish them.
I think that's maybe the thing that's scariest about it.
Well, it's a very positive group. I think people worry that we're going to, cut apart their writing, but it is a supportive group, and so people don't leave feeling dejected or, oh, they hated my writing.
And then looking forward into the summer months, what are some of the things that the library does in collaboration with the community?
In the summer, we always have summer reading program. There's both summer reading for children and for adults. So for the children, there's a lot of programs going on in addition to the summer reading where they read books and get prizes and so on. But there's a lot of fun programs for the kids as well. For the adults, we're going to have a couple of movies. We're going to have the Illinois Treasurer's Office is going to be there with their iCash search so that people who maybe have money coming to them that they didn't know about, they'll help them find it. And then we'll have a summer reading program for adults too, with prizes for reading and doing other things. This year's theme for kids and adults is Build a Better World. So it's about encouraging both reading and doing positive things in the community.
Okay, sounds good. And thank you for bringing in so many of these books. You brought in a stack of them.
Yes.
And these are some of the different local authors.
These are local authors, yeah. May I mention one or two?
Sure.
This is interesting. Many people from Plano will remember Dr. Steve, who was a physician in Plano and owned a historic house that was the Lewis Stewart House. His wife had been interned in Ravensbrück concentration camp during World War II, and she was an artist, so she wrote this book that was actually commissioned with photographs of daily life in the concentration camp. So it's a really interesting book, but we also have a number of other things. We have a set of novels by a local author, Elizabeth Bantz, and they're Christian novels. There's 3 in the series. So there's quite a few things, and there's even a DVD from the 100th anniversary of the library that was a performance. It was a set of monologues about the history of Plano, and it has local residents in it, and so you can check that out as well. They can all be checked out. And the local writers group also has a journal which can't be checked out, but you can look at it there, and then there'll be copies when the new ones come out. Just local writings from all around the area.
Fantastic. Jean, thank you so much for coming and being on our show today. It's time to rediscover your library. Obviously, there's a lot more there than you realize. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more right after this.
Their support changed my life.
They were like family.
My voice is now heard.
A home for every animal.
My future is bright because they cared.
This is our home now.
Thank you to the 1,200 nonprofits that serve Cass and Clay counties every day.
Ellen Von Olen joins us now. She is the franchise owner of Money Mailer and also the chairman of the Green Committee for the Yorkville Area Chamber of Commerce. And I just mentioned that because we've been talking about paper. And writing. And here you are, you actually own a business that produces a lot of paper.
Right.
It's interesting, you're also the chairman of the Green Committee. So pull that all together for us, Ellen.
Well, part of my money mailer business is using paper, which is recyclable. But it also gives me the opportunity to meet and network with a lot of business owners too, and to discuss their concerns not only about their business but about the environment as well.
Well, the Yorkville Area Chamber is a great organization. I really have a lot of respect for chambers, just the networking ability for business owners to get to know each other, work together, and do good things for the community. I'm sure you agree, obviously, that that's a good thing.
Yes.
The Green Committee is something that I heard about a long time ago. It's now having a resurgence. Tell us about that.
Yes, there is a resurgence. With the administration and things like that, we really want to make sure that there's a lot of growth coming into Yorkville. And with growth, sometimes comes different challenges. So we want industrial growth, but we don't want that to sacrifice the quality of our river, our air pollution, things like that. So we just want to encourage them to think about clean business practices.
Okay, so how does it help a business to be green? And what are some of the things that it does to help them and some of the things that they may have to do?
Well, they may need to think about how they're going to dispose of their waste, the recycling, and just touching with community and the residents, and also kind of working with them too. So on our committee, we try to get people from different organizations. So we have manufacturing, industry, and different categories. And they're the experts in their business. And so we are looking for them to lead their different categories, and leading and saying we want growth, but we also want to do it in a ecologically sustainable way.
This is really interesting because they're challenging each other, but they're also learning from each other. So they're sharing ideas, business practices, and talking about what best practices are?
Yes, yes. That's it. We want them to share their best practices.
Before we went on the air today, you and I were talking about how we were both, really interested in ecology when we were younger.
Yes.
So this is something that's kind of resonated with you your whole life.
Yeah, it has. I've always been, irritated by litter, and I also, I was a runner, and I ran the trails, and so just being out in nature really drove home to me how important it is. There's a lot of industry built around the Fox River in Yorkville. There's trails, there's the water parks there, and it's so important to keep the Fox River clean because this is where people come to play, to have fun, to eat. And so there's a lot of business opportunities really built around the Fox River.
So being a member of the Green Committee is not necessarily something just for a business or a business owner, but individuals too can get involved.
Yes. So we're looking to partner with schools, the Scouts, the Conservation Foundation. So we want to really touch people in the community too, and I think the Scouts, they're always willing to go clean up a river and get dirty and get down into it. So I think that's really where we make a good impact because they're our future chamber members. So
well, absolutely, that's true. You want them to make the Fox River Valley their home, and specifically the Yorkville area their home, and stay there forever. And if they, as you say, get down and get dirty and start working, it's going to feel more like home for them.
Yes.
Now, are you working actually right now with school partnerships?
We just formed.
Just getting started?
Yeah, we're just getting started, but we do have. We're going to have a student representative on our committee, and so that's going to, really be fun.
I like that. I like that because that's going to give a young person a chance for leadership. It's going to be something that they can, you know, pad their resume with, and then they're going to learn a lot from the different businesses.
Yes. Yeah.
That's really wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, you were telling me that you're actually going to be doing some actual cleanup events. What do you have in store?
So we do river cleanups. We like to wait for the river to be low. So we are cleaning August 5th, which is a Saturday. And so we're inviting a lot of scouts and students, the canoeists. So we're going to attack really the cleanup from on the river and on the banks. So we get into the islands, we pull tires out, and we have a really wonderful prize for the most unusual item found. So,
Okay.
you know, they're all like, oh, look at this. So it makes it fun because, you know, everybody thinks this is the most interesting thing, but so it just makes it fun.
So a little bit of a challenge. So you're not going to necessarily reward them for the most, just the most interesting, which I like that because one tire can weigh a lot.
Yes.
And somebody else can pick up a lot of trash.
Yes. Yeah. It's kind of fun. We have this beat up old canoe or boat, and so we just dump everything in there, and we call it our garbage barge. But you can see all the tires and just, you know, things that get swept off or things that people dump in, and so yeah, it's quite a sight.
Now, for people watching the show, how do we get involved in the Green Committee? Do you have actually meetings set up, or is there a way to find you?
Yes, so you can find us on the web at yorkvillechamber.org. You can also find us on Facebook at Yorkville Chamber Green Committee.
And do you have regular meetings?
We are meeting the second Thursday of every month, 11 o'clock at Harmonia Tea and Coffee in Yorkville.
So you can make it a lunch meeting.
Yes.
And do some networking and find out what's new.
Yes.
That's a good plan. I like that. I just think there's, I just can imagine the conversations can go a million different directions. It's probably hard to rein in that group.
Yeah, oh yeah, because we're all passionate about something. But many of us are concerned about keeping the Fox River clean, because that's, you know, that's really the lifeblood of Yorkville. It runs through the whole, you know, the whole village.
Well,
so.
Absolutely. It really links our entire viewing area. The river is pretty much the, you know, the vein that runs right through.
Yes.
And what happens in one community really does affect, you know, everyone else.
Yes, it really does run downstream. So, so yeah, so it's also being a good neighbor then, too, keeping things clean and keeping our community, you know, clean and being proactive about it.
Well, I think it's really wonderful that you're doing that. And, you know, I hope to do more with the Yorkville Area Chamber in upcoming editions of this show, but it's great to hear about this new initiative. I'm really thrilled because, you know, I love going out and, you know, picking up trash, and believe it or not, getting involved in that kind of a project. I think it's wonderful what you're teaching our young people, and I just want to thank you for being here on our show.
Great, thank you.
Ellen Van Olen, she's the chairman of the Green Committee for the Yorkville Area Chamber of Commerce, and it's been great to have you here and all of our guests. And for Fox Valley Television, I'm just thrilled to be here with you. I'm Barb Nadeau.